I'm going with you. Yeah. Woo, woo, woo. 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 Yep. Yep. That's right. That's right. Yep. Friggin' yep. Well, yep. And hell yeah. All right. Welcome back. Sorry it took like 2 weeks off or 3 weeks. I don't fucking know, and I don't care because nobody watches and nobody cares. So when you start caring, that's when I'll be more consistent. You piece of shit. Fuck you. How dare you not make me famous? I'm kidding. But I definitely did paint my bedroom and did some other various house chores that were taking up time, and it didn't feel like streaming. So that's how it goes, and them's the breaks. Okay, here's another thing, little secret I have to tell you guys. I set up this motherfucking patch. Mega complicated, maybe the most complicated thing anyone's ever done with modular. And then I took a fucking month off, and I don't know how any of it works. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown as best as I understand that I set it up a while ago, but I will try my best. First of all, new additions to the situation here. Number one with a bullet, mother freaking oscilloscope. Thank you to the person who gave it to me. Check it out. Boo woo. Oh wait, let's. Here's the thing about visualizing control voltage. You want to hear it too. So let's bring. Woo 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 woo. So you see oscilloscope, right? Going up and down, up and down. So if I throw a little drum ski on there, let's go. Now you guys can see what I'm doing. And I can set that to anything. So there's another situation, another thing that was going on during this. Okay. So that's going. I'll turn that down just a touch. One thing you didn't see that was happening, I only did it in the beginning because it's, this is the complicated part. Okay. La 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 la, la la la. Okay. So, what you see on the screen there, maybe I can slow it down a little bit more. There we go. Alright, so what's happening here? If I turn this side up, 2 oscillators in the mix, but this one, the frequency modulation, that is going into PAMs, coming out of PAMs, doing some increasing of the LFO rate in PAMs as controlled by the pitch coming into PAMs. So here, as the notes change, it's going to do faster LFO on the pitch modulation. Not mega melodic, but just kind of interesting. Ooh. So you can hear it. You can hear that they're related. And I can change the rate that happens. Although, really not. Like, I can make it go. Hear that? That's increasing the rate. So I can change that. That's what's going on here. That's the big complicated thing, which I didn't really mess with too much because it was too complicated. What else we got going on? We got drums. So I'm definitely going to take this patch apart. If you can see, this thing is super complicated and annoying, and it's been locked in place because I set this up weeks ago, but This is, back to my self-made drums here, right? This steady state gate. That's a kick drum. Right? Then we also have this that's coming out of rings. There's some fucking LFO that's changing the sound as, like this. Does that make sense? That's my little kind of accent snare type sound. These are my hi-hats. Just got pure noise going into the VCA down here. And that's being chippity chopped up by the envelope here. Envelope is being modulated and opened up on another LFO. Lots of LFOs going on here, people. Keep up. So you hear what's happening here. It's going that cut. Envelope on the VCA. You can maybe see the little chords. I don't know. Am I even on fucking screen right now? God damn it. This is too complicated, guys. I did it too much. I did too much. Anyway, choppity chop. Hear that? Little fake hi-hats. Boom, 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 boom. Bing, 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 bing. Anyway, sorry if this wasn't top tier quality. But basically I took a whole fucking month off and I forgot what I did, and I don't even know if I even play good anymore, so that was the breaks. Love you. Hope everything's going well for you. I hope you're having a good time in your home or outside at the park. A wire on my face right now. Okay. Good night. Okay. I wish my mouse would work.